This is Mike Orlando, and you're listening to my man JB on the Wrestling Hotline.
Welcome, my friends, to the Wrestling Hotline. I'm JB, and on the show today we have Mike Orlando, a member of the OTW Nation. And he's also going to be trying out for the WWE Superstar. He's actually going to be a WWE Superstar. He's going to be trying out for WWE's Tough Enough show, where the winner gets a contract to live out their dream as a WWE Superstar. You might have seen him on Monday Night Raw package that they did for Tough Enough. And if you want to catch it, the show's going to air on the USA Network, premiering June 23rd at 7/8 Central. Mike Orlando, welcome to the program, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. All right, so tell me exactly, who is this Mike Orlando guy?
Mike Orlando is the guy that you never wanted to talk to face-to-face because you liked him. You definitely like him because that's how it's supposed to be. But when he turned his back, you weren't the biggest fan of him because that guy got everything done. And deep down, you like him, but you don't like him. He's the kind of guy which in real life is that guy. I was an athlete my entire life. Grew up in Manalapan, New Jersey. Was raised to be respectful as an athlete and whatnot, and played football and wrestling in high school. And basically became an all-around team player until I went to college to go play college football.
Who'd you play for?
I played at Kane University.
All right.
I was an offensive lineman.
Good stuff.
I was the captain of my team, and I played 5 years due to an injury. I lost my leg in 2012. I lost my left leg and did not walk for 5 to 6 months until I got that repaired completely. Basically, kind of a bell went off in my head when you said, well, who is Mike Orlando? And Mike Orlando really is that guy that lost his leg and then came back and really went right back to the top after, hitting rock bottom. So I know exactly what it's supposed to be at the top. You might not like that, but then again, there might be a part of you that can relate to that. You might like it a lot.
When you say you lost your leg, you just had it. You had an injury?
Was hit by 3 players at the same time, simultaneously, top, middle, and bottom, and I completely lost my ACL, my MCL, my LCL, PCL, meniscus, retinaculum, every ligament you could possibly think of from the knee up and down. Separated. There was just basically skin and bone, just not connected any longer. And the leg, had to go through some surgery, some rehab, and got myself right back into football, which, it took up a year of my life. And what the whole thing with football, which was funny, was I was never a football fan. I never watched football. I couldn't tell you anything about football until I actually played it and learned it myself. But the whole goal was I need to look like a football player to be a wrestler. I need to look like a wrestler to be one.
I have seen you in person, and you're a pretty big guy. I mean, it's pretty impressive on your size still.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Every day I work out, 7 days a week and all day, every day, and make sure that I can keep that image because I have a respect for wrestling that I feel like it may not be out there for everybody where I feel the image. You don't have to be the biggest guy in the world because you look at the WWE and it's not that anymore, but you have to fit the image and the drive. As I was telling you when I first had met you, you have to want it and believe you have it before you have it and live the lifestyle as if you do have it. And then eventually you will have it.
And I like that mindset. A lot of guys they want to be superstars, but don't want to put the time in. It seems like, you're hitting the gym 7 days a week. You're living the lifestyle. You're portraying the persona of Mike Orlando in and out of the ring, which, is something that I really like. Tell me, how did you get into the business of pro wrestling?
That's another really, really awesome one. Being a football player initially was being the kid that didn't fit in. I did not fit in with anybody. I wasn't exactly popular back in the day. And, had to be part of something bigger than myself so I could learn. And one day I had sat down with my college coach, Dan Carrot, and I hope that he hears this because I know he'll love it. And kind of asked me what I was doing with this whole football thing and what I wanted to do with life, and I just kept talking about wrestling. And he said to me, if you want to wrestle, well, what are you doing? Why are you sitting here? Why not try it? Why not do it? And I'm in North Jersey and Elizabeth, and there's nothing up here for me to go to or anywhere for me to go to wrestle. And I found Old Time Wrestling, and he had directed me, and I had made excuses up and down how it was 3 hours away from home, and I shouldn't do it, and I had to focus on football. And that's a college football coach that relies on his job to make his team win. And he's telling me to devote my time to wrestling because that's where my mind is at. So, that takes, a strong person to say that to somebody that, hey, I'm not going to be selfish here. Your mind's on wrestling. So I took that as a blessing, and not only did I learn how to wrestle at the same time as play football, I wasn't going to let him down because he didn't let me down, and he had showed me that this is the way you got to go if you want to wrestle. And it was a fun balance, you know, and it really taught me a lot of discipline because it wasn't around the corner. I would train, you know, 4 days a week, 3 hours away. Couldn't afford that as a college student, so I had to really work all the time and things like that. So it taught me the discipline, which is why we went back to looking like a wrestler. If you believe it, that's what makes it work. I'm not here to make money. I'm not making money. I can't sit here and say I'm making $1 million off wrestling. I'm not. But at the end of the day, I'm going to. And that's where the whole having to fall into this, you know, this plot of losing to win at the moment, I guess you could call it, fighting for that spot.
All right, so tell me, what appealed to you about being a wrestler? Like, I know the question before was, you know, what got you into it? What appealed to you? Was it the glitz and the glamour? Was it the light at the end of the tunnel? Was it that you're a big guy? And, you know, you think of a lot of the guys that are in wrestling now, The Rock was a good example. Brock Lesnar, a lot of these guys went through, you know, pro football, college ball, didn't make it, had an injury, had an accident. It just wasn't them. And it's just weird how the transition, a lot of pro football players end up, they just go right into it. Bill Goldberg was another one. What appealed to you?
Wrestling saved me. I mean, honest to God, as a little kid, it really, like I said, I didn't fit in. And in the society we live in now, like, we have, you know, drugs for all these kids that fixes, you know, attentionness and all that. My age now, back in the day, they wouldn't give you any of that stuff. So I didn't know what was wrong with me or why I didn't fit in, but all I knew was at 9 o'clock on Monday I was watching Raw. And when I would watch Raw, I would escape reality, and everything that was going on there was real. So my goal as a wrestler is, I know I'm not alone out there. I know as a kid now, as an adult now, as a man, I understand how to, you know, make friends and fit in, but it took time. And my goal now, and this might sound corny to whoever, but I could care less what you think about it, it really comes down to kids that were in that same situation that need that guidance. And there's got to be somebody that's been through that again to kind of push it out there. You know, if I got to be the bad guy, I will be the absolute worst bad guy in the world to make that good guy look like the hero, because that's what in this world we're missing. We're missing heroes and we're missing bad guys. They're just one or the other. Just 100% it. I mean, that's really my drive. My drive is to really kind of, like that, like I said, save me. And people don't need the drugs and all that other stuff that they're doing to get away from things. They need a little entertainment. And the entertainment you get is your own world, whatever you make of it. So to me, being able to do what I love, like I love wrestling, I love what I do. It makes me in my own world again. So I'm fitting in with these guys that may not even know me, but they're relating to me as soon as I step through that curtain.
So you brought a good topic up, heroes, and for those who caught Monday Night Raw this past week, you know, Kevin Owens and John Cena are having this big battle, and after the you know, they went to commercial break, and even during that segment, John Cena saw a kid in the audience that I guess he was recovering from cancer. He was beating cancer, and he brought him into the ring after the you know, they were in commercial, and was just, you know, it just takes a lot for a superstar to come down and say, you know, these people look up to us and we're not immortal, we're just like them. And this guy, you know, the little kid is a hero. You know, he's beating something that no pro wrestler can beat. You know, while we're on the topic of John Cena, what is your thought of him? You know, do you see him as a big role model, and the way that they're going with this Kevin Owens and John Cena rivalry?
John Cena is, and I don't care who can disagree, he is the best. Okay, I don't care what anybody says, and at the end of the day, I don't care what his moveset is. I don't care what he says when he goes out there, or his hands he does, his movements that you don't like, or what he wears even in the ring. We just talked about a little kid that conquered cancer because of John Cena. So you got to look at it like that. So this isn't meant for the 30-year-old men that are tired of seeing John Cena on TV. This is meant for the little kid that just conquered cancer because of John Cena. When you look at him, you can say John Cena sucks when he comes out. Everybody laughs. Like, we get it. We understand the concept. We're all annoyed by it, but there's still a majority of people that are fighting over him. So what I think about the whole Kevin Owens thing, God bless John Cena. He just made an independent wrestler of how many years look like a monster by I'm not going to say letting him win, by having a great match with him and having Kevin Owens be the winner of that battle. Not the war yet, but the battle. You just made don't call a kid, because he is a man of his own, but you just made all of us independent wrestlers look like we had living. And that's so important. People don't realize that. Like, he just made us all completely real. Now, we had a former champion that everybody loved and nobody wanted to bicker about, that just went to another sport and called the sport that he was the best in the world at. You understand what I'm trying to say? So we could all love one person and say he's great in the ring. But now we have another guy out there that's helping kids get past cancer and now just made independent wrestling look like it needs a spot. Ring of Honor is now on television, a new trend. We're not seeing the Hulk Hogan's anymore, which we do still see in the Rusevs and all of that gimmick. But we're seeing Cesaro and Tyson Kidd get a chance to show what they get, and then we see Ring of Honor getting their chance on TV. And there's a reason. There's a bigger picture. You're opening the door, and that door is being opened by people like John Cena, whether people want to acknowledge that or not. I mean, love him or hate him, you got to thank him for everything he's done in the business.
What do you think of this whole, with Ring of Honor getting Destination America, followed by TNA? Like you were saying, it seems that it's almost going to be like a cycle. The big name wrestlers, they're sort of fading away. Now it's going to have these up and coming guys that are coming out of ROH, which I really don't follow that much, but now I'm obviously going to follow it more because they're on TV. I haven't been to any of those shows, but from what I've seen on their Facebook page, because they post a lot of stuff, Kevin Kelly does a lot of recaps of major events. What's your thoughts of Ring of Honor and TNA? Where do you see them going in direction? Do you see them ultimately becoming sort of the proving grounds? I wouldn't say TNA as much, because I would rank it as the WWE, TNA, and then ROH. Do you agree with me? And do you see that TNA and ROH are the proving grounds in order to work your way up to the development center or even straight to the main roster? Like, for example, Samoa Joe. I mean, that guy has went from ROH to TNA to now he's on NXT, and soon he's going to be on the main roster. I can guarantee that he will be on the main roster very soon on WWE. What's your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree with you by saying WWE, TNA, then ROH, but I think that times are changing, and I think ROH is picking up a lot of steam it's never had the chance to get, which it just finally got, and I think that's like when you have a rope doused in gasoline and you light a match next to it. Eventually it's going to light on flames and take its path, and I think that ROH is about to shock the world in terms of wrestling, and I think that TNA is holding its own in its best given ability. I think TNA is an awesome place to be if you're there, and it gives you the opportunity to work to independence and still make your name something. So you can't really say that it's a bad place to work. So I guess you got to still give it its credit. But I think Ring of Honor has gotten a new crowd and has opened I'm a big media person. I follow everything because you have to know everything if you want to make it. And I see things like the action figure line that Ring of Honor just got. So now they have an action figure line.
I did see that.
So now you're opening the door to a kid marketplace in Toys R Us that might walk in there, have no idea who any of the Ring of Honor stars are on the wall, and then all of a sudden look into it and see that there were people like Daniel Bryan, Daniel Bryan in Ring of Honor. And they look into it, and then now that becomes more of, like you said, a stepping stone to if you want to make it to the WWE. And that's really the question nowadays. Do you want to go to the WWE? Because now we have options. We're looking at Ring of Honor as something you could live off of. You're looking at TNA, you're looking at the WWE, and you're looking at wrestlers that work on the independents from TNA and make a complete living. So with the different options you now have in wrestling, what is your goal? Do you want to go to Japan? You understand what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of the time right now, because there is competition, whether people want to see it or not, as competition. Pepsi is not in competition with Coke anymore. As many people think there is, they're not. They're just two different companies with two different products that are very similar. And that is what this is. This is a big business. And we are now having different products with different things that are very similar.
It's catering to the guys that like indie wrestling, ROH. They're
Absolutely.
catering to the indie wrestling fans. TNA, I mean, it's right in the middle. If I was to look at TNA, one thing that I personally don't like, I don't like how their announcers aren't live at the arena. I don't understand the concept of it. I don't know why they're doing it, whether it's for cost reasons or for production. It's just we've always been accustomed of the announcers are live. They're there. Even back in the '80s when they would stand on the pedestal and you would see them in the background. To TNA just not really putting their best foot forward on what they're trying to do. I mean, are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I still think they're still learning, as weird as that sounds. You know what I mean? They've been in the mainstream, but they still don't understand it.
Yeah, they're constantly changing.
Because I don't understand it. I can't say I'm a veteran, so I sure as hell can't say I understand it. So who the hell really does understand it? You know what I mean? But at the same time, if you look at TNA sometimes, like you just said, and I watch it, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you can't believe what you're seeing. But then at other times, you really watch, TNA, and you're like, wow.
Sometimes the programming is good.
There's guys there that are great. But unfortunately, we just watched Samoa Joe leave and come to NXT. So what does that make NXT? Does that make NXT WWE now NXT then TNA ROH? Because I'm almost considering NXT a complete different company than WWE, because it seems that that's what they wanted to build it as.
Yeah, when I first started watching NXT, I wasn't really bought into it. I guess probably just because I was like, these guys are, they're beginners, they haven't made a name for themselves. But, after watching it for a while, like Neville, just take Neville, for example. That guy is he's like an Evan Bourne. And then you look at somebody like Kevin Owens, and it's just that guy's just ruthless. I mean, Kevin Owens is going to make a big name for himself. He's already made a big impact, and with this, with the push that John Cena is giving him right now, I mean, it's just it's amazing to see that, to see somebody he's literally passing the torch. When you look at major superstars. Seth Rollins went through NXT. I mean, his time is just, it's not up, but I think they're just overusing him. But yeah, guys coming from NXT, I think there is a bright future, for the stepping stone to go from the smaller indies up to ROH, up to TNA, then to NXT, then to the pinnacle, which is going to be WWE.
Right.
Once again, we're on the phone with Mike Orlando. Mike, tell me, how long have you been wrestling professionally?
I am now going into my 5th year. That sounds good. It's probably like 4.5.
Wow.
Still, yeah, it's 5 years now, because I started as a sophomore, a real true sophomore in college, and then I got hurt, and I just finished, and thank God Almighty, graduated from college. And after 5 years, so now it's 4.5 going into 5 for me for wrestling, and I've had a number of matches since then, and feel like I get better every single day, because I truly do study wrestling. I sit there and I critique myself harder than anybody really does. I never am complacent. I never arrived, because I never arrived at football, even though I was a captain or whatever you may call me. I still considered myself below it, end of the totem pole, because for me it was still something to fight for. And that's really how I thought, because I didn't understand the sport. And I mean that, and I can admit that in true honesty now. I did not understand football, so this is how I had to look at it in order to succeed at it.
So
with wrestling, I understand it.
So tell me, for a person that had a major injury, what would you say to somebody who thought that they were being held back, or they felt that they were holding themselves back because of injury? What would you say to someone like that?
Take a piece of chalk, draw a line, and then cross it. And just do that every single day, and remind yourself every time you cross that line, you're going to get past it. Because that's really the truth of it. The mind is the most powerful muscle in the body. I mean, you can tell yourself you're hurt every single day. Your mind tells yourself you're hurt. Your mind gets yourself better. You physically have to force yourself to get better and trust that your mind's going to find yourself with it. That's really the truth. I had positive spirits the whole time. I surrounded myself with my team all the time. I never left. I never locked myself in a room and said, "Poor me." I sat in the gym in a wheelchair and lifted in the wheelchair, everybody laughing at me, like friendly-wise. No one would make fun of me. They all knew my drive. And that's the most positive way I would say you have to be. Because the more and more you sit there and you dwell on something, the more and more it becomes reality. And I don't mean that in any heroic, confident way. That's just the truth. You sit there and you think, "Poor me." nobody's going to feel bad for you except for yourself.
All right, once again, we're on the phone with Mike Orlando. Mike, tell me, why did you, for those who didn't know, and I said it at the top of the show, Mike's going to be trying out for Tough Enough, which is going to air on the USA Network. It's going to premiere June 23rd, 8, 7 Central on the USA Network. Mike, why did you want to try out for Tough Enough? What appealed to you besides, obviously, getting a name onto the WWE?
I looked at it as a golden ticket to Willy Wonka's factory. It was a way to get my face in front of them and show them, here I am and here's my story, and I don't need any sympathy. I just need a chance. That's truly what I was looking for with the video, and I feel like I expressed myself entirely and truthfully to them, and that was the most success I've had with wrestling in a long time. I mean, I got myself to be on Raw, and to me it was like, okay, here we go. Let's grab on and we'll see where this takes us. You know, and hopefully it takes me somewhere, and if not, hey, you know what, I'm not going to stop. I'm still going to keep going.
What was your feeling when you were watching Monday Night Raw, and they were doing the video package, and boom, Mike Orlando is being seen worldwide across the globe? What was your feeling?
To tell you the truth, the feeling actually came afterwards. I was at wrestling training practicing at the time when Raw was playing when that went on. I was at ECPW training in the gym up there in Parsippany, and we were just going back and forth, and Gino came in the room and said something, and we had taken a break, and we looked at our phones, and everybody was like, oh, Mike's on Raw. And I was like, no way, oh my God. And we all looked it up, and then I had gotten a chance to see it. My first reaction was, thank God, finally. It was like, not surprised, it was relieved. It felt like, I had finally taken a weight off my shoulder.
Now, did you know that you were going to be on or no?
I had no idea, no.
So they don't let anybody, they sort of just create a video package, and if you're on, and that's it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had no clue.
So Tough Enough's going to be picking a superstar and diva for the winner. What's the first thing you're going to do with that contract once you get the money?
I would pay off my mom's house for her.
All right.
That's the first thing I would do, because she has a lot of debt from me wrestling and helped me get on my feet completely to wrestle everywhere I could get to around the world. And if it wasn't for her doing all that, I wouldn't have the chance to do that. Plus college bills and house bills. I was living on my own at the time, so I'd have to cover that. And I'm sure it's not that much anymore, but I would cover that instantly. And then the next thing, I'd have to get myself a car, because it was just totaled recently.
What kind of car?
So,
what kind of car are we talking?
I would win that and get myself a new car.
What kind of car are we talking? I mean, you're a WWE superstar now. Are you driving a Ford Focus? Are you driving a Toyota Prius, or are you driving like a Bentley?
No, I'm just driving a nice car. It's not going to be any Bentley or anything like that. I'm looking at more of just a 2013 Jeep, 2012 Jeep. Maybe that would be amazing.
All right, nothing.
You know what I
wrong with
mean?
that.
I'm from the beach area. I like simple. The beach would be ideal with a Jeep. So a Jeep with a top down would be awesome.
Awesome.
The first thing I went for.
All right, so a big match happens. What's your feeling right before it? I mean, right before that, your music hits, the curtain opens. What's your feeling right before that? Are you saying a prayer? Are you doing anything? Are you eating anything? Are you getting psyched? Like, what's your thought process right there?
I'm the elite athlete at that point. That guy that I become, he doesn't get nervous. He's the most confident man in the world, and I really, snap, click goes off, the gears out of the bag, and it's on my body. That guy takes over. He doesn't get nervous. So I'm really by that curtain. I'm ready to go as if, this is the Super Bowl, and I'm, back in Kane, and I'm about to win the championship again. And here we go. It's real to me. I don't care who doesn't believe what I'm doing out there is real. I'm the most real man you'll ever meet in the ring. And I mean that. And I know there's a million other men out there that will say the same thing. And there's a dozen of them that I know that I can vouch for as well that are truthful about that. But to me, this is real. So, no, I'm not nervous. I'm not saying a prayer. I'm just ready to be, me. Show the world, here comes the elite athlete. Love me, hate me, indifferent. This is what I have. This is what your tickets are. I'm here to entertain you. So that's just a mode I go into.
All right, what would be one piece of advice you'd say to someone who's trying to break into the business as a pro wrestler?
Go to a school, Do not do backyard wrestling. That's not wrestling. You're not a wrestler. Pay the money and pay your dues. Do everything you have to do in order to step into the ring safely. I say go for it. You know, the man who says he can't, he can't. And the man who says he can, he can. So it's really a matter of, are you going to pick up your, you know, you're going to pick up the shorts and put them on and go, or are you going to sit there and think about it? So I would say go to a professional school, and whatever it costs, get it. There's always ways to get things done and to do it the right way.
What school did you start out at, if you don't mind?
Old Time Wrestling, and I stayed there, and I truly felt that I was blessed to get into a school that was legitimate and completely, I guess you should say, ins and outs of the business, inside the ring and how to be outside the ring.
Mike, how can people get in touch with you? Do you have a Facebook page, a Twitter page? How can they follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. Twitter and Instagram is the same thing for me. It's at The Big Orlando, like the at symbol, The Big Orlando. And if you go to Facebook, it's facebook.com/Elite Orlando. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can go through there, message me. I get back to all my fans, any requests from anybody. Try to stay in contact with everybody through that. Twitter I just got into, something new to me. But I'm getting into it a little bit, so we could use that.
Do you have an Instagram page or no?
Yeah, at The Big Orlando, the same thing.
All right, good stuff. All right, I'd like to thank Mike Orlando for being on the show. Catch him at the OTW Arena. Also, hopefully on Tough Enough, which is going to air on the USA Network June 23rd at 8/7 Central, or anytime on Facebook or Twitter or on Instagram. Mike, thanks for being on the show, buddy.
It was great. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, man.